kind of glad that Dorothy got off the subject when she started, because I'm going to be a Trump and do the same thing here a little bit, I think, probably. A couple of Saturdays ago, I'm a Democratic county chair, so I was at the district convention, and it was a long day and kind of boring. And at some point, all the Hillary people had to go to a different gym to sit, and this guy came up to me and started talking, and I thought, he knows me, but I don't know who he is. Anyway, we sat down together in the Hillary thing, and as we sat there, he said, you know, if there hadn't been Model UN, I wouldn't be here today. I had no interest in this kind of stuff till I was in Model UN. So, or at the board meeting, Dorothy, you talked, you know, how we never know what effect we have. Then we got back into the main convention, and I was the parliamentarian sitting up there all day doing nothing, because there weren't any questions about anything at all. And this guy came up and said, Mr. Thomas, I recognize your voice. My job is to find you. And he invited me to the 50th class reunion of the first school I taught. I taught at Rhinebeck in 1965. I was first year teacher, and that's when the Model UN started at UNI, which Rhinebeck was only about 20 miles away from that. So I got some kids and we went to Model UN. I had no idea what I was doing, and we really didn't do a very good job. But that process led me then to Amana, where I started the Model UN program there. All these schools have merged and become different names. That was just Amana when I was at Amana. And then I actually got my job in Centerville because they wanted somebody who knew about Model UN, because they'd bought all these materials. They wanted to be used. And actually at one of the UN meetings, a guy said, hey, we got this job in Centerville if anybody's interested. And so like in July, I went down there. So Model UN was a large part of my teaching life. And to tie this all in, Wayne Osborn was a big Model UN person also. He went to Simpson College, participated in a Model UN or a UN activity of some sort where he met his wife, went on and got his degree. His expertise was Latin American history, taught at Iowa State, was president of the Ames chapter, and worked with the college kids. College kids tend to go to the Model UN at the University of Chicago. Many Iowa colleges send kids there. He retired and moved to Iowa City and became president of the Johnson County. So I don't think we've had too many people who've been president of 2 chapters, because we don't have that many chapters, I think, probably. And I should mention his wife's been equally involved with the UNA things, I think, also. So he then continued on the board of Johnson County, was on the board of the UNA for a number of years, worked with the University of Iowa, Model UN kids. And but the thing I remember that I think made a difference in the UN is at one meeting, Wayne mentioned that there was this program he had heard about where a lady did a one-person program about imitated Eleanor Roosevelt and the Declaration of Human Rights, the process of getting that passed. And somehow or another, Johnson County never did that program. Katie and some other people got involved, and so we did that. That lady came, and I guess I remember because I went with her to all the places. I listened to her 4 times. We did a program at Ames, and we did a program at the Historical Building in Des Moines, and we did a program at the annual meeting here in Cedar Rapids. And then later that afternoon, we were at the bookstore. Gosh, I just forgot the most famous bookstore, and I was Prairie Lights bookstore. Yeah, so we did 4 programs in a couple days there. But that was Wayne's idea originally, or he was aware that such a program was available. So Wayne's been an important person in the association. I'm glad we're honoring him. And I haven't said a whole lot about him because he wrote this wonderful letter for an acceptance. So I think it's going to take me a little while, but it's good. And has ideas for us. John, listen now. My involvement with United Nations Association in general, and the Iowa Division in particular, began as a result of a personal letter from the Grand Dame of our founding, Dorothy Schramm. Her message came after I sent a letter to the Des Moines Register challenging Secretary of State Jeane Kirkpatrick's claim that right-wing dictatorships in Latin America were more humane, etc., than leftist authoritarian regimes. Dorothy agreed with my critique. and asked, what beyond writing letters did I plan to do about the general state of the world? And I often read letters to the Des Moines Register and think, those people should be on the UNA board. There's a couple people in Des Moines on a regular basis. But I think that's a good approach. Recalling at that point that I had met Dorothy when a Model UN conference had been held at Simpson College in the late 50s, I decided to become a member of the Ames UNA chapter. The comprehensive purpose of the United Nations appealed to my desire to understand the dynamic issues facing humanity. Around this time, the University of Iowa brought Chadwick Elger, a political science professor at Ohio State, for a lecture to a global education conference. I was inspired by his message of acting locally while thinking globally. Haven't heard that for a while, have we? And the UNA provided a suitable channel for achieving that objective. An example of that process occurred in the 1980s when President Reagan shocked us by talking about how the U.S. could survive a nuclear attack. This saber-rattling galvanized the Iowa Division to develop a series of programs on the nuclear threat that brought together doctors, scientists, politicians, and citizens to demonstrate the horrors of a nuclear war on the U.S. Under the leadership of Dorothy Paul, these programs helped galvanize Iowans against this idiocy. This culminated in the massive march in New York City in the summer of 1982, in conjunction with the disarmament conference at the UN, when a number of Iowans, including many Iowa UNA members, participated. My teaching focus on Latin America led me to an awareness of the role of the United Nations in helping to end the civil wars in Central America. In both El Salvador and Nicaragua, UN intervention brought these conflicts to an end. This solidified my core reason for being a member of the United Nations Association of the U.S., and it is that the principal purpose of the UN is to further the quest for peace by ending the scourge of war forever. Any way we can contribute to that process deserves our unwavering support and commitment. And I believe that our participation in supporting and strengthening the UN through our efforts in the UNA can serve as a grassroots contribution towards the achievement of this overarching goal. My thanks to all of you for this award. Peace, Wayne. And you're gonna, I forgot the part that Wayne and his wife within the year have retired for a second time. They left Ames, came to Iowa City, and they've now moved to Oregon. So you're going out to visit him, or?
No, I'm going to send it in the mail. But yes, Wayne and Ruth. I have a beautiful picture of Wayne and Ruth. It's also home in Iowa City. So,